Sorry about that, everybody. So good morning once again, and what we're going to talk a little bit about today is just making sure that everybody's comfortable with the new world of insurance. And really what we have to make sure is that you and all of your teams are very comfortable in talking to people and really trying to identify these SEPs. Because as we've talked about on other calls that we've done and other scenarios that we've kind of addressed, is really making sure that the change in going from searching for someone's underwriting to moving into searching for an SEP. Now, we do still have some gifts on the SEPs. We still have some ways to enroll. And quite honestly, depending on where you are living and where your office is located, you're going to have a different set of experiences. What I mean by that is that if you're living in South Florida, and if you're living in Tampa or you're living in the Panhandle, for example, and that's where your agency is operating out of, what's happening is when you're calling healthcare.gov, your calls are being routed to different call centers throughout the country. And depending on what that exchange is on your phone number, call it 239-941-407, so on and so forth, what's that routing of that call is getting you to different call centers, and you're each going to have a different experience when you're talking to healthcare.gov. I know that sounds very silly and very interesting, and what does it really mean? Well, what it means is that if I call healthcare.gov and I'm requesting an SEP for someone who may, forgot to sign up, I may not be able to get that through. However, if I called from Naples, I'm going to be routed to a different call center, and depending on that call center's education level, they may or may not allow it. For those of us that live and work down in South Florida, down in the 954-305, you guys are 561 already in a bad pickle. They're routed to a very educated call center. They're not giving a lot of latitude for different things such as misrepresentation and those types of scenarios. Tampa is pretty much closed up now, so what you're really working with is Panhandle and Southwest Florida, really going to have the most opportunity to get somebody on the phone. And those are going to tighten up and close up, and they're going to get harder and harder to complete. But you do need to make sure that you fully understand the real SEPs that you can access. And the first one I want to talk a little bit about is COBRA. So when we're dealing with COBRA, anybody who has a COBRA policy is eligible to enroll until July the 1st. Let me say that again. Anybody who has a COBRA policy is able to enroll until July the 1st. Now, that's very important that you understand that, because you don't need to get a special SEP. You don't need to call anybody. You can do your application in a standard manner, answering the question regarding the SEP, which will create it because they have COBRA. As we know, after the July 1st date rolls around, then we will only be able to access a COBRA policy for enrollment either in the 1st or the 18th month. So huge opportunity there. We're still able to access the Medicaid program. So if someone had thought that they were going to be acceptable for Medicaid, they were thinking about doing an application for Medicaid, waiting for Medicaid to call them back, whatever that may be. If they thought they were going to get Medicaid, they did not get Medicaid, that is still a SEP for that as well. Very accessible also. Loss of a non-calendar year program. That is a big one. We're accessing that quite a bit right now. There are still some people on some older plans from some other companies when we're talking about these other companies that haven't adjusted their calendar year anniversary date and get in line with the calendar year anniversary date. Florida Blue is one of those companies. So also be aware that anyone who has a Blue Options program that will renew in July is currently in an SEP, and you'll be able to enroll those folks as well. But be mindful that if they are currently a Florida Blue member, that they will not be paying full commission on that, and it will be a transition commission, and there will be no renewal, but there will be some cash flow involved in that. So that's very important. When we're talking about misrepresentation, I want everybody to be aware of some things that have come up and just some direction that you would need when you're calling healthcare.gov. So as we know, under misrepresentation of a product, when we're dealing with the networks, it's not really an acceptable process. When we're dealing with the benefits, that's much more acceptable. However, you are going to need to contact healthcare.gov to access that SEP. And when you're talking about accessing that SEP for misrepresentation, there's something that you need to be very conscious of. If healthcare.gov says that they are going to escalate your case, then when you are going to escalate that case, that means that you are not going to be the AOR. So you may want to call back until you get someone else on the phone that will allow you to complete the SEP enrollment at the time that you're on the phone. That is the only way that you can make sure you will be the AOR. Now, if you're dealing with a current customer that you wrote, for example, on Blue Select, and you want to change that to Blue Options, and you call to do an escalation for misrepresentation, let's just say we're accessing the way that the RX benefits are treated or the way that the out-of-network emergency is going to be treated, and that is a concern. You are the agent. You call with the client. You state this misrepresentation. Then they're going to escalate it. That's okay because you're already the original AOR on the Blue policy, so that would be acceptable. If you get a declination on the escalation, you will have to appeal that escalation. There are some letters that have been coming out for folks that have had to appeal their escalation. Let's just show you what that looks like so that way you can see that that document. Now, with that document, as you're looking at here, what's going to happen is it's going to probably be a little hard to see, and I can't rotate this, so I apologize. But on this letter that some of your clients will get from CMS, it just states that their SEP was declined. On this letter, it gives them a web address, phone number where they can appeal that decision as well, so they'll have to write a letter and appeal it. Don't be alarmed if they get this letter. Don't be worried. Just follow the process. You know, it's like with many insurance companies. This is the government. They may have just put in declined, didn't spend a lot of time looking through it to see if it was going to be escalated and acceptable, but you are going to have to follow that process if you want to accept and go through that misrepresentation. Just getting a little bit harder. It's just getting a little bit more difficult, and you have to really identify those SEPs. And then if you don't have those SEPs that are identified, you can't find one, then of course an acceptable short-term medical program would be a good solution. I believe Mr. Falco sent that out to everybody last week regarding the short-term medical HII program, which is a great product that people can pay on a monthly basis. The Blue Cross temporary programs are phenomenal. However, they do have to be paid in a lump sum. So if your client is a little bit more affluent, they want to pay for 6 months all at once, just be aware that the commissions are less than desirable. And that's just the way that they go because it's a flat fee based on the term of the policy. It's not based on a percentage. I know that we're not all driven by commissions and we're doing the right thing for our clients. However, many of our clients can't pay for a short-term medical in one felt swoop. And they do need to pay monthly. Therefore, the solution of the HII of the short-term medical products is probably your best opportunity. So definitely be comfortable with that. Take advantage of that product. There will be a penalty still unless someone is claiming hardship. Now, with a non-qualified health plan and without minimum essential coverage, your clients would still be accepted and still be mandated to have that penalty. However, the government has given some direction on those penalties and that a hardship claim can be made, and then they would avoid said penalty. So there's some opportunity out there. There's lots of people that you can enroll. We are still very busy people. There's still a lot of people out there who, I don't know, they didn't know this was going on. Maybe they were living under a rock. Who knows what they were doing. And they didn't realize that they couldn't enroll. But you get those people on the phone. You speak with those people when they come into your office. Identify if they have an SEP, and then move forward. You just have to take a little bit of time and go through that and making sure that you're working with them. So a couple questions have come in about SEPs while I've been talking. Let me address them. I've been writing someone, this is from Bill Bay. I'm writing someone who qualifies for an SEP and subsidy based upon her income. Her parents live with her, and she declares her parents as dependents on her tax return. Any idea if her parents' income will affect her subsidy amount? Will her parents' income be a factor? Yes, it will. Since they're all in the same household, she's claiming the parents' income. Social Security benefits do need to be added into that income variable. If you come into the Value Penguin, that would be a family of 4 or 5. Add mom and dad to that, and it's the household size is going to be affected by the number of people, and then that income would be inclusive of everybody in the family because they're claiming them on the taxes. At that point, you would be able to access their SEP, their subsidy. Now, be mindful, if mom and dad are on Social Security, they have Medicare Part A and Part B, they would be part of the household size, however, would not be part of the quote in the applicant information when using the Value Penguin. You are able to quote these, for example, if someone is 65 plus, as we all know, we are able to get those people insured as long as they don't have Medicare Part A or Part B, or access to other qualified health care such as VA benefits, TRICARE, things of that nature. Okay. Next question from Ellen. I have a client currently losing group health insurance, 6-1, has not enrolled in COBRA yet. Can we enroll her on healthcare.gov as an SEP, or do we need to call healthcare.gov? Ellen, that's a very basic enrollment process. I think we've addressed it a few times, but you would be able to enroll that person as a 6-1 effective date. That would be done online. No need to call anyone. You could actually do that application through IST or through healthcare.gov, subsidy or no subsidy eligibility. Now, the future date of loss is actually supposed to have been resolved. I haven't gotten any feedback from our team on the resolution on that, but we were assured by Florida Blue that CMS had made those changes. So, for example, if I put that my coverage was ending on 5/30, 5/31, it would still give me that 6/1 date. You do know that you can still go into there when you show the loss of coverage. The loss of coverage date can be yesterday. It'll allow you to go through, set the plan, select it, and enroll. And please make sure that they pay. It's going to be very important to please make sure that they pay. All right, next question from Justin. What SEP do we use for anniversary change through the exchange? It's going to be a loss of coverage, and you're going to put down that they have a loss of coverage. That loss of coverage would give them the SEP. I don't believe, they don't have a question as if, are you having an anniversary date? So it's just going to be that loss of coverage. All right, some good questions on there. Let's just see. Somebody saying the issue was resolved. I placed 2 applications last Friday, called a few times, and they kept advising that they were working on it until Friday when last update was done. Tamara, I believe if you're talking about the future loss, is that what you're talking about, Tamara? Tamara, I unmuted your phone. Are you talking about the future loss of coverage? So if I was losing my coverage for 6/1 and I'm doing an application today? Tamara, are you there? Tamara doesn't want to talk to us today. She didn't have enough coffee. It's okay. All right, everybody. So let's move on a little bit. Those of you that are also, making sure that you have these other products, making sure that you're tracking these other products, you have other products that are available to you and your team for sales, making sure that you're keeping everybody busy. Now it is the time to make sure that we're managing our books of business. Many of you have come from the P&C world or different types of agencies. What you've done so well is making sure that your clients are enrolled, making sure that you have a good communication. I would advise everybody that if you're not using some sort of email marketing tool where you're staying in touch with your clients, that is going to be the difference between huge success and huge failure as we move through this new landscape of health insurance. People, as we have identified, are having problems with all types of things, everything from provider issues to payment issues to RX coverage. And I would really advise that if you have not already, make sure that you have a very good conversation with each of your clients. Put them on a standard, round calling or email campaign where you're staying in touch with them. They understand that you're there for them, because the last thing in the world you want them doing is contacting healthcare.gov for any advice or any changes to their policy. Now, the reason that I bring this up is because we've had some experiences in the last few days where our agents, their clients, have called healthcare.gov, wanted to make a life change or change a life event, and then what's happening is they're re-enrolling them in a new plan. And by re-enrolling them in a new plan, then what's happening is that agent of record is being removed from the new plan. Now, thank heavens, Florida Blue does honor the original AOR. However, I could see that causing us some problems and headaches in the future. So my advice would be to make sure that all of your clients know that you are their point of contact, that you and your teams are the people that they need to be calling in order to make changes, have issues resolved, because that will give you a little bit more control of the outcome. And if there is something that needs to be addressed, you can be a part of that solution. And that way you have that relationship, because as we move into the new enrollments, as we move into the next AEP, which we are already starting to plan for, believe it or not, and we want to make sure that we're able to migrate that book of business, keep those renewals, keep those people in a good positive feeling about the relationship in Florida Blue. Which is going to bring me to my next part of business, which is going to be billing issues. Now, we've had many conversations. There's been a lot of people that have been out there that have been dealing with the reinstatement problem or issues when we're talking about reinstatement. Now, Florida Blue has been telling us that they're going to be crafting a document that will allow us to reinstate. We've had a very good luck with reinstating anyone who's had a problem paying. Hadn't received a bill, had mailed in a bill, had 2 addresses, and there's a couple of things that I want to make sure everybody takes some notes on, so that way you know that you can handle these reinstatements. So if a client has had a problem and they've called you, you've been in conversations with them, and they have been having problems paying, they haven't received a bill or what have you, this is something that you're going to identify in your management of your client base by calling all of your 5/1 effective dates, your 4/1 effective dates, checking search accounts on a regular basis to make sure that your policies are in force and they're not into a grace period type of situation. Now, as you go through that identification process, if somebody says, hey, I never got a bill, I don't know what you're talking about, I thought I was set up on APO, I thought I was on an automatic payment, you're going to need to contact member services, and you're going to need to contact HPS, and you're going to have to get them to pay. Now, if you come into a situation where you are unable to get them to pay, HPS says, we don't have any record of them, we don't have any filing for that, what we're going to do is we're going to provide you with a spreadsheet, I believe. And let me just double check and make sure this is how we want to handle that. Hold on for 1 second, everybody. The reason why it's brand new, we just got it yesterday. Okay.
And they also have to use it for the apps that are not, if they call agent services, that are not attached to their AOR.
Okay. All right. So here's the process. So Gig has sent out a spreadsheet to everyone that will give you a format. And let me pull it up. I think I have it right here. And what you will do is you will fill out this form for all of the missing commissions that you may have that are not assigned to your AOR. Apps that have not been paid and we need to get them reinstated. Now that form, that document needs to go to your agency owner. Now your agency owner at that point in time will then get that to the appropriate parties. They've already been informed about this, but it just needs to be filled out and needs to be completed so that way we can complete the research. The form is going to look a little something like this, all very basic information, subscribers, first name, last name, date of birth, social, app ID. Then we have our healthcare.gov number, if you did it on IST, if it's an exchange application. Fill out all of this information, get it to your agency owner, and that's going to include apps that you're not the assigned AOR or apps that you have not been paid for. And the agency owners will put that information together, get it all sorted together, and get that over to Mr. Falco. So get with your agency owners, make sure you've got a copy of this. Get it filled out so we can get some resolution on that. Gig, is that going to be only for the Affordable Care Act policies? Okay, and that's only for Affordable Care Act policies. Just want to make sure everybody was clear on that. So really important that that if you're getting through that situation, we've been able to get them reinstated with HPS. They've called, they haven't, they've had problems. Some of those key factors, again, just to kind of recap on the payment issues. If they had 2 addresses, so if they had a mailing address and a physical address, those people will have no problem. If they mailed in a payment and it was never received, never cashed, then they will not have a problem. We can reinstate those people. If they mailed in a money order and it was not cashed, we can reinstate those people. There are pretty much most people who have a desire to reinstate or get issued, who did everything that they thought they were supposed to do in order to get enrolled, will be able to be reinstated. Take the steps of calling your clients, checking their enrollment, and then at that point contacting HPS to make a payment. Do what you can to make a payment there. If they are not able to make a payment and we need to get them reinstated, then you would fill them out on the form. That form would be then sent to your agency owner so we can get those folks reinstated. So it is a process. It is actually working pretty good. It's not as fast as we like to do it. It's a little bit more work for this business than we really wanted to deal with. However, you are also going to want to urge all of your clients to set up their APO on that time of that call. APO is the automatic payment option, which we want to urge everybody to get on. Make sure that they're doing that electronically with HPS when you're on that call. Very, very important that you stay in touch with all of your clients as well, just to monitor that they are continued to be enrolled. Remember, they've got a 90-day grace period on these policies. But this 90-day grace period is not a rolling grace period. So let me explain what I mean by that, because it can be a little confusing. If I am in a grace period and I'm basically in my 60th day of my grace period, so I get my letter from Florida Blue, thank you very much, please pay. Oh, you know what, I don't have the money for 2 months. I'm just going to pay 1 month. Well, I pay 1 month, and then the next month rolls around, I pay another month again. I'm still in jeopardy at that point of running out of my 90-day grace period, because the 90-day grace period is keyed up from the first month that you were missing a payment. It doesn't automatically apply to that first month. They've got to catch it up, because otherwise what will happen is if they go into that one, that fourth month, they will be terminated even if they paid 2 of the 3 months. It doesn't appear as if they're in 90 days in the rears, because they're only technically, when you look at the number or the math, they're only 30 days behind, but that 30 days is still tied to that first date of missed payment. That's not the way that it's always been in our industry. As we know, many of our clients, I've got clients even today, they're just always 30 days late. That's just, they can't seem to make it up. Your clients have got to stay on top of this, because if they get terminated after we get through this next month, Blue Cross is allowing these reinstatements because of their mess-ups. They're allowing us some flexibility with making payments. But once we're through this window, you can forget it. These people are going to be out in the cold, uninsured, no SCP to enroll, no excuse for not paying, and then at that point they're going to have a short-term medical. They could be subject to a penalty, and they will have to wait until January to have real insurance again. So it's important that you're comfortable in understanding that your customers should not, and absolutely not, play with that grace period, because it will bite them in the behind. All right, let's. A couple questions came through. This is from Chris. I have a client that wants to get coverage for them and their partner. They were married in Canada in 2005. How do I handle this? It's 2 males. It's going to have to be 2 separate policies, unless they're non-subsidized. If they're subsidized, then that's okay. That's not okay. If they're non-subsidy, so you could do that right on IST. Next question from the same Chris. I have a client that was canceled. I've been dealing with David Riero, but I'm not getting any results. Getting my client reinstated. I know this name, so it is being worked, and I know that Gigi, as well as myself, has sent that up to leadership to get it worked on. That case was a little complicated for reinstatement, so we'll take that offline as well. Anybody else have any questions about the reinstatement process? What do you need to do? How this is going to happen, and what we're going to, some of the hurdles? Okay, great. So, again, my advice to everybody is make sure that you nurture your book, make sure that you're contacting your clients, you're staying in touch with them, and it's really important for the future, for the longevity of the book. It's for the relationship, asking for referrals, making sure that you have a path and a preparation for next AEP. I would urge all of your partners and your agents to make sure that they're getting ready now. They're getting their mindset in line with, Medicare, Affordable Care Act, what we're going to be doing, and making sure that you're also prepared for recruiting, making sure that you're growing your teams, because quite honestly, you got 4 months, and that's it. If you're going to take on new agents, you're going to want to build something for you and your team. You would definitely want to start to be prepared now, because it's going to creep up on you. And remember, come August, we are going to be in an education mode again. So then these calls that we do are going to be, pure education on new products, new portfolio, new enrollment methods, how are we going to do things. And we are also going to be doing Medicare as well as Affordable Care Act, well, shockingly enough, at the same time. So it is going to be a mountain of information. So get your teams in line, get them prepared, get them excited, because this year's enrollment is going to be twice as busy just because it's going to be shorter, but then all of the experts from every place that you read, everything that you look at, we should have double the enrollment at a minimum this year than we had last year. And to complicate matters worse, we're not sure of what the renewal process is going to be for our currently enrolled members. And that's something that we'll talk about as we get better guidance. Okay? Just to kind of give everybody a few hints on the portfolio and what are things are going to look like. We had a leadership conference. Chuck Hurst was there. I don't know if he's on the call today. Had a good time with him, spent some time. He makes me look very, very short. But I am short. So, when it works, we talked about the product. We talk about, a lot of unknowns, which we know about. But some of the things that we do know is we are going to be dealing with a much smaller portfolio, which is going to make things easier from a management perspective for you and your teams. From an education perspective, there's going to be a lot of really good enhancements on the products that I'm excited about, and everybody should be excited about as well, as we get them approved by the IOR, and as we start able to release that information to everybody, we can talk a little bit more specifics. Medicare HMOs are going to be phenomenal. If you are not comfortable with selling a HMO from Blue Medicare, you definitely want to review, get with your agency owners, make sure that you have a really good understanding of the Blue Medicare HMO now, because it is just going to get better this year coming up. Expansions in new areas, more doctors, better benefits. Improved methods for enrollment are going to be released. There's going to be presentations for those of you that did some presentations for our Medicare seminars, a major improvement under those, because they really couldn't get much worse with Helen and Felix. But we will have a better presentation for you to use, and that's going to be looking good. The locations will improve because, as we know, that some of those events were less than desirable. What we're also going to do is, this is a really big thing. Those of you that have been with us for a few years are going to really appreciate this. Updates for Medicare applications will be located in IST. That is a wonderful thing. So there'll be a communication piece you'll see application status in IST, which is going to be beautiful. So if someone's not enrolled, if they didn't get approved by CMS, if they have a late enrollment penalty, if we're going to have some different things like that, that is going to be something that is going to be very exciting to have that communication, which we've been asking for probably since the internet was created with Florida Blue. So there's, we are going to have to make sure that everybody is very up to speed on education. There's been a lot of complaints, and there's been a lot of things that have come through, which we call CTMs, and those complaints come through CMS actions. Everybody's going to have to do a really good job about that. Many of you are not Medicare agents and haven't really focused on Medicare, and that is a process. It is a completely different animal when it comes to regulation, when it comes to how the process works and what's going on with Medicare. We will be doing a lot of education on that, but it is something that that we'll work with you on to make sure that you're successful and you understand how it works. Really, let's just get ready. Let's start preparing. Let's get things going. Let's make sure everybody's comfortable. Somebody's asking about us doing seminars. We don't do seminars for you. If you want to, talk about seminars and get seminars set up, please get with Ms. DeFalco, and she can talk with you about what you can do, where you can do it, and how it works. Lonnie, you're asking me about payment options, and that is something that that's something that's very simple. Credit cards can't be used for ongoing payments on APO. I mean, that's very basic. They have to do bank draft and those questions. There's a document that's in Dropbox that talks about all of those methods of payment. All right. Let's see. One more SEP. All right. Perfect. Justin, what's your question? For those that were declined Medicaid, how do they get a subsidized plan even if they're below 100% of the income threshold? Well, they can't. They can only buy an unsubsidized plan, unsubsidized amount. So just because they were declined, their income level has nothing to do with their enrollment. If they don't, well, it does. But they can enroll, but they can't get a subsidy. So let me say that again. Basically, just because they're under the threshold of 100% of the federal poverty level, they can enroll in a plan, but they don't get a subsidy unless they're at 100% or to 400% in that range. Okay, make sense? All right, so a lot of good things going on, a lot of opportunity. It's really, let's, get a plan. Let's plan to make sure that everybody is prepared for what's going to be happening very soon. Only 4 months. It's just, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be forever before it happens. We've got a lot of opportunity now with people who are getting anniversary plans and pages from Blue Cross. Those are all enrollment opportunities. And then we're going to be right back into AEP before you know it. So. All right. Somebody's saying I can't get past the SEP screen when I try to enroll a Medicare client in an RX program, option 1. Well, do they have an SEP to enroll, and have you completed your certifications on that? So get with that with Gigi after our call, and she could see at exactly what screen you're talking about. Because if they don't have an SEP, you could have a glitch in IST. Shockingly enough, that does have some glitches. These things happen. But just get with her. All right. Yes and yes. Okay, great. Anybody have any other questions? I want to let everybody go. Great call today. If anybody has any concerns or any questions, payments, SEPs, the things that we covered today, any questions about opportunities, love to address them. All right. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk to everybody next week. So thanks for your time today. I really appreciate all the hard work that everybody does. And any questions, give Gigi a call. Thank you.